Our esteemed speaker for the day, Ms. Kiran B. Sethi, is a contagious founder of the alternative Riverside School in Ahmedabad. Kiran grew up with great freedom and also had a very active childhood. Her father was the first machine tool designer from IIT. The nurture she received in childhood through activities enabled free thinking and imagination, providing food for thought and an unlimited reservoir of energy in her. In her 11th standard itself, she was given a special admission to NID. Her vivid imagination and creativity found an outlet. But she found her truest calling finally in design for change. She became a visionary deep within. She was infected with the staggering possibilities for social change and the urgency for it too. Her empathy, her energy, compassion, imagination, skills, and unique personality fused into an explosion of creative endeavors that continue to impact. Her vision for education of school children is driven by design thinking, which is reflected in 5 E's: empathy, ethics, excellence, elevation, and evolution. The philosophical underpinnings that guide the curriculum of her school. A pioneer in the field of alternative education, she firmly believes in the value of experiential learning, deep love and nurturing of children, and a natural, unique flowering and connecting and finding oneself in community. Her immense faith in the creativity, imagination, and problem-solving skills of children led to the conceptualization of the I CAN program on the FIDS model, which encourages children to feel any problem that bothers them, imagine a way to address it, do an act of change, and share the story with the world. I CAN began a citizenship liberation curriculum in Ahmedabad. She is also the founder of Approach, an initiative that aims to make Indian cities more child-friendly. The acronym Approach stands for a protagonist in every child. A book published by Sage on alternative schooling in India in 2007 lists Riverside School in its directory of alternative schools. In 2009, she conceptualized and promoted the Design for Giving contest, which aimed to involve children in the social change process. The contest inspired participants to be the change that they wanted to see in the world by providing design solutions to problems they faced in their lives and communities. She has been a recipient of several awards. Notable among them are the Index Award for Work category, bagged along with Mr. Pranay Desai for her Design for Change movement. Currently, the movement has a presence in 60 plus countries around the world, impacting the lives of children, teachers, and parents. The King Center Stanford conferred upon her the Call to Conscience Award in 2009. She is an Ashoka Fellow since 2008. Ashoka is the world's largest network of leading social entrepreneurs and a top-ranking NGO in the world. Ms. Kiran B. Sethi speaks today on Design for Change, preparing students for change. We at Abhyasa Vidyalayam warmly welcome with great joy and anticipation Ms. Kiran B. Sethi to this 48th talk in the ongoing TikTok series.
Kiranji, unmute yourself.
Yes, my God.
Anyway.
How?
Madam.
It's so embarrassing actually when you see yourself and your story, and you just do it because it just has to be done, and you don't really do it because you want something out of it. So it's so interesting when somebody else shares your story
Yeah.
and you see from their eyes, you say, "Acha, ye bhi hua?" I mean, one was just doing it. So it's
There is
been
too much
lovely.
to
So
say, but we thought of having not more than 4 minutes. There's so much content that into this video. But
no, thank you. That
thank
was
you.
a beautiful introduction.
Then I'd like Ranjini Shankar to take over and go on with the interview without
Yeah.
wasting any time.
Good morning, Kiranji. Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning, Ranjini.
Design for Change and I Can are inspiring initiatives. Truly, we are inspired by the work that you have been doing. I would like to straight away go into the questioning. What is the most important thing that a child needs from the adults around to sustain the I can feeling throughout?
I think the most important thing that the child needs, we all know, but it's very difficult for adults to do, that is to listen and stop speaking. I think adults love to give advice and instruction and information because they think it's for you. I know what is best for you. And I think we don't listen enough. And I think for that trust and that relationship to be created for a child, you need just one adult who believes you and says, yes, you can. And not because you get marks or you get, I think that's one of the fallacies that children feel, that only if I do something, an adult would think I am important. I think children need to be given that trust just because they are here on the planet and they deserve it. And once you build that relationship with children, then you just have to step back and see the magic. So I feel that is a very powerful ingredient for children to believe. Yes.
Wonderful. So we will learn to listen more.
Yes.
The next question that crops up in my mind is, are we really prepared to accept children as now and not as the future? Because usually it is believed that the children are the future generation. So we only envision them as something that comes up in the future. So are we ready to really look at them as now?
I think it's not whether we're ready or not. I think it'll be a great injustice if we don't. We will suffer the consequences of constantly deferring the promise of that belief. Abhi nahi, not now, when you're older. No, not now, you have exams when you're older. No, not now, when you're 18. And every time we keep deferring even a single day of that promise, we will suffer the consequences as a nation, as a world. So it is not whether we are ready. We better be ready. I mean, that is really what the urgency is. That I feel that too many schools keep preparing our children for life and they never ever enter that, because we think life is a separate, idea than what they're learning. So I feel that if we don't wake up to the urgency that children have only today, and we have only today to put that deep investment, tomorrow will happen. But we have to take hold of today. We have to ensure that today is a remarkable day for our children, with belief and with joy and with passion. Because otherwise we will be, it's already too late. I mean, if you just look at the world, just look at if one looks at the report card of education, it's a big F. If we were doing everything so well, we would not be in this situation. So I think it's no longer are we ready. It is they are ready. Children are always ready. We have to know that we have to live up to that promise. It's what's in us.
Thank you. That's so true. Can you please share 3 crucial evolutionary points in your endless seeking of childhood experiential learning?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I'm just going to, I had this opportunity when 20 years we were celebrating to just look back on my own story and saying, what were the key moments that may have provided me this opportunity to serve children, right? And what did I need to get prepared with? So I think a huge influence was my childhood. and my parenting and my family that I grew up in. And the reason I say that, I think a lot of parents are wonderful parents, but I think in that time when I was growing up and when we're looking at, I never grew up recognizing that there was a gender that played in my growth. I was never told, okay, I'm a girl and a boy, and therefore I'm the youngest. I have a brother and a sister. And all of us just grew up believing that we have to be, whatever we do, we have to do it just because we have to be competent and we have to build those skills. So gender never played a role in my upbringing. And I think that is a very powerful way to think about yourself. And I was given that gift to be able to have an ability to understand my identity beyond gender. You know, that I was capable and I had to do a good job and I had to be ethical about my work. I mean, that's it. Those are the narratives that shaped my upbringing. And that came from my father, my mom. My mom was such a rock star, and what a great role model she was for us. So the next influence was just the idea of what does a mother mean, you know? And I think for me, that's fierce, because my story started because I was a mother, not because I was getting out to change education, not at all. If somebody thought of, they would have said, what are you doing, right? So I think the power of a parent and the power of taking those choices for a child was another big influence. And I think the third was really NID. I mean, I went to a very traditional school, and I can't frankly remember anything I learned. I mean, I had a really good time. I had fantastic friends. But I don't think I can remember any learnings. My body was not involved in the learning. But I still remember walking into NID and saying, oh my God, this is what it feels like. This is what learning should be. You know, when an adult leans in and listens to you because you are important, not because you did something. The idea of design thinking, of course, became a huge influence in the way. So I think NID was a massive influence, because in hindsight, I see that a lot of the work I did with Riverside was shaped by both the role of early childhood parenting. I mean, how do you parent? Because all of us are not just teachers. We have multiple things in a single day. We can be a teacher, a mother, a friend, an advocate, a guide. All of it happens on a single day. So I got those experiences and influences. And then NID's, I think, massively stimulating, engaging program allowed me to then shape a lot what I did. So I think these little ingredients, unbeknownst to me, must have planted those seeds in my heart and in my mind to finally shape the way I look at the world, the way I look at the work I do. It's driven from that deep core.
Kindly share some significant childhood experiences that made it impossible for you to accept mainstream education and drove you to seek alternative education.
Nothing in my childhood was greatly inspirational or whatever. But let me tell you, the education I got from my home, and I'll tell you one or two instances. I remember I went to an all-girls school, okay, and I was 12 years old. And I remember the first ever project they ever gave us was do something on living beings. And girls being girls, I'm sorry, but you know, one group said, oh, we will study a butterfly. Another group said, we will study a fish. And somebody said, let's study a dragonfly. And I said, we want to study a snake. I mean, why fish in this thing? So now look at the series of events that happened after that. And I could think of a snake, but then I had to come back and convince my parents that I needed to buy a snake. And then I had to go and purchase a snake and look after the snake. And there was this drama happening in my home saying, no, there will be a snake. A snake will stay or we will stay, all of that. At none of these places was I told that you cannot. I remember calling my father up, and all he said was, you have to look after it. If you cannot look after it, you cannot have a snake. And I needed to collect a princely sum of 22 rupees. Okay, so I took 2 rupees from each of the girls and I had 22 rupees. Then I had to find, my father said, where will you get it from? So all they did, both my mother and my father, just said, they nudged me and said, you're finally taking those calls. So you cannot then excuse yourself or anybody else, or, you know, blame anybody for decisions. Now that learning, and finally we went and I got the snake and we looked after, and all of those things happened. So that's really not important. What's important is what did I learn about myself? What did I learn about the world? What did I learn about decisions that you take? That was super important for me. So I think that was a very key moment to understand when somebody gives you trust and puts that to you, you have to receive that trust with great dignity and responsibility. You know, and so then you cannot say, oh, but Papa didn't or Mama didn't. And in education, unfortunately, we do that. We deprive our children from that trust and that belief. And then children, of course, will say, teacher told me. I have nothing to do, teacher told me, or somebody else told me. So I think for me, that was a massive, and subsequently many of those. I remember I'm told that when I was very young, maybe 2 years old, I'm born and brought up in Bangalore, and there used to be this one Koshi restaurant. I don't know if any of you have gone to Bangalore, but there's this super restaurant called Koshi that used to be there, and it used to have a jukebox. And apparently I'm told by my sister and brother that I would go to we would have that one one Sunday every 2 months on that Lambretta scooter. Everybody will pile up and all of us will go. And I would go in, I would tell my papa to play that one song apparently. And I would then take my mother's dupatta and chunni and dance all over the restaurant.
Okay.
And my brother and sister apparently used to tell my father, Papa, what is she doing? She's embarrassing. Ask her to sit down. And my father would say, no, let her do. So I believe all of these, and you only in hindsight can you see the value of that trust, that love, that freedom that you are given. So all of these eventually built a massive worldview. And then finally, I remember the first day at NID. I remember walking in and, sitting in a circle, again, unheard of. Now it seems quite normal to sit in circles. But imagine 15 years of your life, you sit in rows, and the only thing you see is in another children's, the back of a child's head. You don't see faces, you don't see eyes, you don't see smiles, you don't hear conversation, nothing for 15 years. And then you wonder what the hell is happening to the world anyway. So then I walk into NID, and on the lawns of NID, this faculty member, and another thing that we didn't have to call him by his name. All of these are so unusual. Anyway, so we sit in a circle, and I kept thinking, I said, how strange this is, Am I important? Do I have anything to say? And finally, of course, I recognize how powerful that feeling is, and that's why contagion. How do you put the idea of contagious? And then, of course, now I say cantagious. It has to be cantagious, but that's really what you give children. You can only gift what you have. And if you have that love and that thing, I think that's what most teaching is. It's not about information, but who you are as a person, what you wake up to every morning. Do you have joy? I keep saying you don't need a PhD to smile. My God, nowadays, it's a big deal to smile. So these were, I think, deeply personal influences again that shaped the ICANN story subsequently. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. So in a nutshell, you are kind of letting us know that two things are very important. One is responsibility and accountability. Am I right?
Joy and trust. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's such a waste of time to blame and complain. My God, it's a waste of time. I've been such a useless spending of your time. Oh, but you did. But I have no space and time for that. So I think ownership, offering that to any task that you do, even saves time in my way. I mean, people forget that in schools we keep thinking, time kidhar hai? Time milega,
Yeah. Krishna ji?
Krishna ji?
Request you to take over.
So actually, it's Narendra Garu's turn. He's not there. He's not allowed because there are 100.
I'm here.
Oh, that's sad.
No, somebody said I'm here.
Kiran, so our team member is missing now. Anyway, I'll continue with the question.
No, I think Narendra sir is there. I'm here. Yeah, he says I'm here.
Is there?
Then you continue, Narendra Garu, please.
I unmuted, I think. 1 second.
Okay, you are unmuted now. You can talk.
Yeah. Okay, Kiran, it was wonderful to see you. I wrote your stuff yesterday, and went through the whole journey with you without seeing you, right? And I'm not surprised to look at you and see you smile, which doesn't require a PhD.
True. I can't see you for some reason. How do I get to see your face? You're not on that. See, that's the thing with Zoom. I'm done with Zoom, man. I swear. All these two-dimensional people, I have no interest in. I want three-dimensional folks. I want to hug people. That's it.
But we are very thankful to Zoom, ma'am. Otherwise, we would have met you like this.
That is true. That is true. But Krishna would have invited me now to your school. See, now I can have an excuse. I say, so I already met Krishna. What's the point?
I was about to say that we are coming to Riverside. We are not going to do this Zoom shit. Okay?
Yes.
You're going to come to Abhyasa Vidyalaya. You will love it because it's on the hill. And you will love the scene there. And you will love us.
I think so. Absolutely. Go ahead. Tell me, what are your questions?
So what questions were asked you?
Who is your favorite actor?
I don't know what to ask once you say love. Seriously.
Really?
So still, there's a lot to ask and share, surely. So let me ask you something very, very turning point in your later career where you were confronted, like you thought like, ye to hoga nahi, mere se, or hua. Maybe in community. I'm very interested in that community aspect you talk about because Kiran, it's really to include everybody is, I think, where you have personally, I feel from now, as of now, you have scoring, and I think we should really listen to what you have. Just freely talk about how do you include people, how do you face. I'm not complaining. I'm not talking about complaint. You get my point.
True. Yeah, I get it. Okay, let me give you. I was thinking about the first time I went beyond Riverside, and had to do this approach, which is a protagonist in every child, right? The idea of getting the city involved. Now you can't think of a number of people to collaborate with who have different agendas, might have different purposes, etc. But you have to get everybody to buy into an idea. So I think a couple of things that I have learned. One is you have to let go of ego. Because ego has no place in a room, okay, especially for collaboration. So you have to go in believing that it's not going to be possibly the idea you walked in with, and that you have to be open to how nimble you can be. So most people, unfortunately, are unable to let go. They fall so much in love with the idea that you get blind. And so you walk in and present only your idea and say, this is it, this is how I want to do it. So I've realized over the years that you walk in because the idea has to win, not you. You walk in because the idea has to go forward and not you. So to be able to let go of ego is a massive learning I had. So especially with approach, and then finally, of course, with the biggest collaborative event we did was with the Vatican in 2019, when we took 2,500 children from 40 countries to go to Rome. And we were working with the biggest and the most bureaucratic setup in the world, which is the Vatican, right? And how do you get that collaboration? How do you get them to work? So I think ego, that has no space. I think your idea has to be served by your joy, not by your cynicism, not by your fatigue, not by your ill health. So another thing that I've learned is your justice and your responsibility to the idea is you, finally. You have to land up and you have to give it the best shot it can. And the reason I say this is, and I'll give you a little anecdote. I remember when I started talking about design for change, going around the world. One day I was invited to Tokyo, and the partner there was arranging talks for me and saying, okay, you have to talk here, etc. And he happened to take me to a bar on a Friday night. The teachers who have no interest in learning anything about education, all right? So I am there, standing in this bar. It's around 7 o'clock and everybody's getting totally sloshed. And I'm thinking, I can do two things. I can say, what is this nonsense? I am Kiran Sethi, and what is this nonsense? And, this is my ego issue. And I thought to myself, look at me, I am here in Tokyo. Okay, now, how cool is that? And then there was this one guy sitting in front of me with this glass. He was just gazing at me like this. I told him, I said, hi, I'm Kiran. I'm supposed to speak. Will you listen to me? He said, bring it on. So yes, that's the thing. So I believe eventually when you give that joy to the idea, I have found that it's extremely, and I use the word contagious. People want to be part of something powerful. And I've seen when you walk in without ego, but with joy and love for the idea, you will find people will buy into that energy. Because suddenly it's not your idea that you're putting out there, it's our idea. Suddenly the idea becomes collective and everybody wants to be part of something that is powerful. And finally, children, I don't think there's any controversy around children. So we're not having any political agenda. There's no religious agenda. So when you remove politics and religion from any idea, I believe that it has a lot more traction and it travels a lot more. So I found that those have been my go-to ingredients. And the last but not least, don't take anything personally. Yeah. I remember early on, there would be times when I would walk into a meeting and that person will promise me sponsorship and everything and come back and then they'll ghost me. Okay, and they'll not pick up any phone. They would have just told me how much they loved us and how much we were amazing. And then suddenly, I said, "Nah, Manishan, hey." And initially I said, what did I do? Is something problem? And I said, Chavna, as long as I have to do my bit, so don't take it personally. It was a big learning that I also received in the idea of collaboration. Give more, don't go with the ego, put your joy to the idea, not to yourself necessarily, not to anybody else. And and don't take it personally. Yeah, so that's, I think, some of the pieces. Yeah. Oh, yes. And the last one. Follow up. Ideas don't come by chance. Hope is not your strategy. So another thing that I've learned is that for them to remember you, you cannot forget them. You have to keep following up because it's in your interest that the idea functions. It's not in everybody's interest that your idea needs to move forward. So I've found that following up and keeping people interested in the idea is only your job. It's not theirs. So that's really certain lessons I have learned.
Wow, wonderful. Well, I can't think of a better answer, the way you put it.
Contributes with everything I've done in my life. But I have decided that, boss, there's too much to be grateful for.
Maybe I should.
So it's really so wonderful, Ms. Kiran. Like when we talk about children and education, these two words, love and joy, are very much used. But today, the way I enjoyed your perspective of that, it's really wonderful.
Kiran, have you realized, my second question now I'd like to ask, which is the last question, that love and joy, I'm supporting Malti ma'am here, are two words absent. So I think what I learned from you is keep loving and don't stop loving. I mean, love and love, even if they ghost you. So either you cry or you laugh. I think you're laughing.
No, but I'll tell you, the reason I say this is, and I think probably Krishna and all of the people who've either started something or been part of something, is, the amount you receive is so much more than what you will lose. So I think the idea of gratefulness, the idea that, I mean, look at me right now. I'm here talking to like 100 of you. I mean, how crazy and stupid of me and ungrateful of me would it be to sit here and pretend, oh my God, I'm so bored. I'm deeply part of this moment. I have to be present in this moment. I know that Krishna and me are going to meet up and we're going to do some rock star stuff after this. It's an opportunity, right? All you have to look at, the world is going to give you and open up it's like treasure trove to you. You have to figure out, chahiye ki nahi chahiye? No, you have to decide, na? Finally, treasure to hai hai. I mean, you can decide, no, I'm too bored, I'm too tired, I'm too this. Are yaar, one life hai yaar. Ek hi life hai. It's going to go this.
Oh my God.
I have no time for all of the great self-congratulatory thing. Oh, okay, look at me, I'm so busy, I'm so this.
You know what? The best thing I liked about you today is that you say, I don't want a Zoom meeting. I want to come there. Seriously, yeah. I mean, that's how I really come to Riverside. We all. So that is wonderful.
1 minute. I just want to show you the reason I started everything.
Sure,
Please come. This is my son.
Oh, yeah. I was about to ask that, by the way.
Everybody. Hi.
We're talking to Vidya Bada.
Tolerating her. How lucky you are to get a crazy mom like that.
Are you lucky to get a crazy mom? They're asking. Yes, you say. You better say yes.
So what I asked to you, what do I ask? What are your future plans?
Ooh, I have never been one for plans. I have found plans to be very limiting.
Whatever.
So, I mean, I have a direction and a lighthouse to go to, but
something which you want. Yeah.
I want to marry George Clooney, but it's not happening, I've realized. So I'm putting it out in the world.
And you don't want a second best.
What are my plans? Well, I know for this year I have to write a book. So I'm super excited about that.
Say that. Suggest that.
Yeah. So other than that, I don't know. I'm happy to
just go on with it.
I've realized that it serves me better. I have found that, and also married to a world champion gives you that perspective that it's only about the now and so I'm very comfortable. Let's say, put it that way. I'm very comfortable with uncertainty. Hugely comfortable with that. So it's very easy for me. Yeah.
Say something more about that. A little more about that.
About comfort with uncertainty. Well,
I really say that you don't know tomorrow. I'm getting in a way. It's
not that it doesn't worry me. Let's put it that way. I mean, I have today developed, I believe, the competency, the skills, and the basic self-awareness that, okay, I mean, like, for instance, who could have predicted COVID? Yeah, anybody with plans, COVID just came and trashed it, right? Exactly. Who could have ever done that, right? And it came like this. Now, you have to figure that out. You have to ask yourself that, all the plans in the world, I think it finally highlighted the need for relationships. Again, I'm coming back to love, the people. I lost my mother. During the last year. And I remember thinking, God, and one of the things I want to share this again with all of you listening. I lost my father several years ago, 33 years ago. And my mother was last year. But I remember people would ask me, what do you miss? Of course you miss, and your whole never kind of gets whole again. But I never regretted, because I was so with my mom and my dad when they were alive that I never said, oh, I wish I had said this to mama, and I wish I said. So I think when my father passed first, I think that lesson he gave me. He said, beta, don't regret. And I think that was one thing that, so for me, relationships are not about longevity or even proximity. It's really about history, that every relationship can be built in a moment if you give it that space and that respect. So again, I'm just giving examples, say with Krishna, I don't know him from Adam, but just this means that I believe we would have a friendship, and that will go on. It'll take its own story, right?
She wants to come to the school. I got you. I thought, not got you. I thought, this is good. This is lovely,
Yeah. So I think that for me is why I feel at this moment, give it your all. That's all is in your hand. You can give it everything that you have. And I think that gives you of course, over the years, as a team, as a person, as a family, we've built our skill sets and competencies to be able to navigate that uncertainty with comfort, and to know that if your intent is good, you will not get out. I think that's a silly word. I think you will respond to whatever comes to you with that, again, joy and creativity. So for me, that's been learning, and COVID just highlighted that we, even as a team, are very comfortable with that uncertainty. It's like, okay, no problem here. Let's go back to the user. Let's start. So it was lovely to see that. Yeah.
Not complain again. And live in the moment. Aaj ji lo.
Bilkul. Any other questions? Or I've answered them all and we are saying, Chalo, let us have a good morning coffee or dosa.
Kiranji, I have a few questions.
Yes, Krishna.
So, your ICANN program, does it involve parents and the community? So how we are making sure that parents and community take care of this ICANN?
Well, it was designed as a way to get children first. I mean, children to engage with the community in a very intentional manner with empathy, right? So, in all fairness, originally when it was designed, it was really not necessarily needing the parent, right? It was designed as a school program, and in the school, children would be able to provide this framework: feel, imagine, do, share, engage with whatever it is bothers them, and design a solution for it. Over COVID, actually, it became a massive opportunity to invite the parents into this. So the parents became sort of also players in this journey. But it really is a child's power. I keep calling it the formula to unleash the ICANN superpower in every child. Very simple. It starts with the idea of getting children to observe their environment. So that is at the heart of it. Rather than going and telling a child, let us do this project to save the world, or let us do this SDG to save the world. I think too much of it is an adult's problem we present to a child and say, come on, let us change the world. I think we've never really listened to what bothers children. So I think when we did that, we recognized children were bothered about really completely different things. Like nobody sitting with me and eating lunch on the table in the canteen, or the school bags are too heavy, or when we have to board the bus doesn't even see us and goes away, and then we lose time and we reach home an hour later. These are fascinating issues that concerned our children, right? And suddenly you gave them a framework to be able to do something about that. So you had the feel, first they identify what bothers them, then they do the imagine, which is the brainstorming, then they select the solution that best works, the do, and then most of project-based learning stops at the do. But in the share and the storytelling, my God, it was super powerful. We got to hear these stories of change, which is fantastic. Then we became celebrators of these stories of change. I have to tell you, Krishna, that the first story when I launched Design for Change came to me from Dimapur in Nagaland. And I'm thinking, what are you saying? This is awesome. Suddenly our children from Dimapur in Nagaland were being spotlighted. It was just the most amazing thing. I started crying. I said, oh my God, this is too good. Yeah. Subsequently, of course, we've been able to see solutions from across the world. And the beauty about this is it is agnostic of demographics, gender, and nothing. Our children in little villages of India, or the mountains of Bhutan, or the beaches of Brazil are all making their world a better place. Not necessarily the world. We don't want to put that burden of the world. But we're saying your world, your small little space. If you get into the habit of mind that I have the skills to shift my world, then finally when you have to encounter the bigger, wicked problems that the world will throw you, again, you'll have, which I said, the comfort in that uncertainty. I think that's really what the ICANN program is. Today in India, I think we reach, I believe, around 30,000 schools. I think that was when we reached. We have a partner, and I would be delighted and honored to introduce you to my Design for Change partner in India, who can then, have, and your children, I mean, if I just look at what they do is, they must be champions of this in, say, Vijayawada or around. And so I think it'll be wonderful to have you partner with us on this. So I will definitely make a note of connecting you with Nandini. So that's really what it's been. And then today we have over around 30,000 solutions of children from across the world. We are in around 60 countries. And we just are constantly humbled by how children see the world. And today believe that they have a role to play in making that world a better place. Yes. Not being passive about it. I think that's really what it's been.
Yeah. So you must have learned a lot from children's ideas, from coming from
all the time. All the time. I'm so very shameless that way. I take that idea and say, I'm now using it. It's too good. I mean, the ideas have been.
We all do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Every adult learns from, whether it is teacher or a parent.
Yeah.
We all learn from our children.
True.
Great things.
Every year we learn new things from each of the batch going out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Malati, please continue.
Yeah, Miss Kiran, can I ask you one question?
Yes, you can.
These are a bunch of questions forwarded to me by a few people. One is they're asking you to share one story. I'm sure you have plenty of them, but one story in which the 5 years that you said literally worked in front of you.
Okay. I will share the story, not necessarily from Riverside, but from one of the Design for Change stories.
Yeah, sure.
This was a story that came to us from a little village school in Rajasthan. And it was when children were asked what is it that bothers them, starting with the empathy, the E, the first E, they recognized that their grandparents, were not necessarily being respected or engaged in the community once they finished their work. So that was their first E, what we'll call feel, the empathy, the feel. The next what they did was when they started looking at their own school, in their own, and this is a tiny village school, okay? Really takes you 3 days to even reach that space. In the imagine or the ethics. Now I keep saying, why is ethics in imagine? It's because you have to take responsibility for changing. You can't just have an imagination and not take responsibility. So that's your ethics that you come in. So they decided that they will capture the folk stories and folk tales from their parents and create a small little library and, capture that wisdom and make a library in their school. The third step, the idea of excellence, was the idea of actually capturing these stories. So you have to see it to believe, with these children sitting with their grandparents and the grandparents telling these super stories and them writing. So all your skills, which schools keep saying, literacy skills, was all happening because there was a need. So these children were writing up these stories, even small little pieces of, when my stomach is not feeling well, what should I eat? All that wisdom that our grandparents' house was being archived. How super cool is that? And then in the elevation, that's the fourth E, which is about abundance, sharing. They started sharing these stories in their school assembly. They made little, their library, you have to see it. It's just like a notepad, which they hung on these laundry strings. So that became the library. That was the elevation and sharing with their grandparents. And finally, evolution, the idea of reflection, the idea that, what can we do next? So then they decided, we'll capture the sports our grandparents used to play. We'll capture the games our grandparents. How cool is that? When we received that story, it impressed us so much that our children at Riverside, in a very urban setup, decided that they would do that with the grandparents. They work 2 hours every Saturday with an old age home. And they realized there are so many grandparents there with so much of wisdom. So they captured the book of wisdom. They called it Recipes of Wisdom. Wow. And they captured this. I have shared the story with people across the world. And invariably, somebody says, I remember sharing it with a very big school chain. And they said, oh my God, we're going to get our children to talk to our grandparents. I think that beautiful idea of contagion, of spreading, of ripples that come from one idea is really what humanity is. I keep saying, you're born human by chance, but you can become humane, the 5 E's, by choice. And education plays that role. Forget about your math and everything. For that, you have the Byju's and the Mindsparks and all of the world. They can learn it from the Khan Academies. They don't learn this. They learn about themselves only with each other. So learning about the world, net is there. And that's really the curriculum of education. That should be the curriculum of every school. How do you get our children to make choices that are more humane, kinder, more generous, more humane? Finally, and if anything, COVID has taught us that that's the need of the hour. Everything else Zoom can take care of, or online tech can take care of, or all of that. But learning about themselves and choosing to be humane, I believe, becomes the biggest curriculum that we have to do. So that's really an example of the 5 E's in action.
Wonderful.
Have you
really
brought any book with all the stories that you received from around?
Yeah, not all, but if you get onto the dfcworld.com website, there is one link that says publications, ICANN publications. So we used to do storybooks. We went to Amar Chitra Katha and asked them to become our publisher, comic books and storybooks. So please, I would encourage you to look at that. Right now, we didn't have the funds finally to do it in multiple languages, but in case you feel that that's something, but right, that's in English, and we have a couple in Hindi, then of course in Mandarin and Spanish, because our other global partners did that. But you will watch. So every story we fictionalize to make it more appealing to children, but it also has the bit.ly link of the actual children. So you get to be inspired by role models which are children. Again, that's a massive requirement for us to be inspired. We no longer do you have role models. Unfortunately, Gandhiji is a little too distant now for this generation.
Yes.
For this generation, if I have the story of, say, Ganesh from that Karunandale in Maharashtra as an example, or somebody in, and then your children say, I will inspire somebody else. So then you can collect stories and create it into a lovely way to inspire. So, you keep completing that loop of action and inspiration. Yeah.
Thank you. Bharati.
Yeah. The next question is, ICANN is actually children doing it, everything all by themselves, right? So what about we, the teachers who are here to mold them?
Same.
Do you expect us to
There
do?
is no difference. There is no difference. Same. Start with empathy all the time. Don't design anything for children. Design with children. That is the basic formula for success. Too much of it happens with people sitting in one room and thinking they will have all the answers. Stop doing that. Invite the children to your conversation, whether it's how to do an assembly, how to plan your day, how to do a sports day, everything. Design with children. Co-creation's greatest empowerment is that.
Yes.
So to empower yourself, please do that. Then you'll start realizing you don't have to carry the weight of everything to say, "Arey yaar, I have to teach quadratic equation. Also, I have to smile. Too much effort." So I just keep saying, invite children into your circles, and plan the day, plan the year, plan the event, plan everything. It's such a great, and then you will find that children will walk that journey with you. They don't have to be pushed or pulled. Otherwise, most children have no interest. But suddenly, when you start the day, and that's one of the reasons why Riverside has codified everything we've done and created the opportunity to become an ICANN school. So we help schools become an ICANN school. And that's only through this, just through listening to them. I'm more than happy to share all of that. So, so just invite that voice and listen to that voice and have that voice be equally represented in the solutions and design decisions you take.
That's more important. Equally represented.
Absolutely. And respectfully, not patronizingly, not saying, theek hai, acha, so sweet, and go. Don't do that. They will pick it up and they'll never trust you again. But when you invite them and respect that equal representation, of course, magic happens. Last 20 years, Krishna's only been that. Just the act
when
of
we do
co-creation.
things for things' sake, that's what happens.
Yes, they'll pick it up, and they're very smart. They will doubt, and the moment that doubt comes in, then you've lost that.
Anyway, you won't. Then why should we even say?
Actually, many a time, if the same problem is given to children teachers, they come out with more innovative ideas. We have seen many a time this.
It's not necessarily innovative. It's more, I would say, user specific, right? That's what. It doesn't have to be innovative. My worry sometimes is also, let's make it different. Let's have a design that is, it's absolutely not necessary. As long as the user experience is enhanced, that's, in my books, innovative. It doesn't need, acha, hatke karenge, kuch hatke, that school has got this. Absolutely no need. I think we get caught up by this too much of this requirement to be different. I keep saying if children make a difference, that's good. There's a big nuance over there. So I have found that to be a greater reason to invite the voice of the child or participation of the child into your work.
Yeah, how true, really.
Are the ex-students come to your school now and then and help you?
Who? Sorry?
your ex-students, your
Oh
alumni.
yeah. Oh my God. It is the best thing. My alumni. Oh yes. They are forever here. They walk into, like, we're just reimagining Riverside. We're calling it the Riverside 2.0. What do we want to do going forward? My alumni, my parents, my teacher, we've been doing these design hacks with different stakeholders to just see what can it be. They come here. In fact, when COVID happened, they immediately called up and said, we're running what we call listening circles for our children, how to stay safe online. So they created those listening circles for our children. They're the ones who, they're always here to teach. They co-taught the first 3 months because they were also here in India. A lot of them their colleges were closed. So they became co-teachers for the kids. So
Super.
it's such a great partnership. And one of the things that we keep learning from them is, have we served them well? Or do we have to do something differently? You know, do we have to change the way we run something because it's not served them well as they go? So that iterative process is always alive. So they come in, they say, no, this is really working well, or that you don't change, or you've not even started this. What are you doing? You know, so it's a great continuing conversation. And I would encourage you on the school riverside.com website, there is a link that says alumni. And if you just open that link, there are 2 PDF documents where we have collated their emails. So every child has to go and in 3 months write an email about how they're managing. It's delightful reading, I have to say. It's so promising to see that what they're doing in there, taking Riverside with them and planting those seeds. I'll give you one example. I'll give you, one of my boys went to VIT, highly supercharged engineering college. And he wrote back, he said, okay, ma'am, my friends started laughing when I was thanking the canteen boy and lifting the plate and putting it there. You know what I'm saying? What would have been so obvious, but so much so that eventually that his group started cleaning up and helping the canteen boy. But it's little things like that. And the other was my girls. My girls would say, okay, ma'am, we have the power to say no. And that's such a great self-awareness you give the child, that you don't have to, bow to peer pressure. So they had the confidence to say, oh, we don't want to drink, or we don't want to go, so, and not worry about peer sort of pressure. So I think that was, there's some Mr. Karunakar who's got his hand up. Hello, Mr. Karunakar. Sorry, he's...
Okay, here there is another question, ma'am.
Okay, sorry, yes.
Can I?
Yes.
Yeah, this is from someone with a serious note. Your ICANN program has a critical literacy element woven into it. How can such critical literacy be implemented in mainstream school?
No, it's not got anything critical literacy to put. It's foundational skills. I would not say it's literacy or numeracy. It just basically is what we would call the 21st century skills that are embedded. It starts with, observation, then creative problem solving, then critical thinking, etc. So it's not necessarily literacy unless, like, for instance, this idea, this solution that came from writing the stories of their grandparents was a literacy piece. It just happened to be the solution. We're not walking and saying this is literacy or numeracy. That's very, very important. The FIDS framework is not built on any academic outcomes, but is built on what we would say humane outcomes. That's really different. So if it happens to be a solution that requires literacy, in fact, there was one solution that the kids came up in a school in Maharashtra, Mumbai, quite in the corner, who they didn't have a storeroom because they didn't have because every once a week people had to go into the city to pick up rubber, erasers and pencils, etc. So they ran an entire storeroom and created, and it just so happened to be a lot more numeracy and money. So they were running the store, they were looking at the stock, they were looking at the requirement of money, etc. It just so happened, but it doesn't start off by saying. So that's why I encourage you. It's so easy to fit into anything that you do. As long as the child recognizes what is it that bothers them, they will have the skills to do it. Does it mean reading? Yes. Does it mean mathematical thinking? Yes. Does it mean geography? So be it. The fallout will be the standards, which we call. It will fit into that. I will also encourage you on the dfcworld.com. There's a link on the top that says Explore ICANN. There's an ICANN lesson plans. all free lesson plans or where teachers can use as a way to inspire children. And it's all filtered through either through global goal or through age or through subject. So these are real projects that children have done that have been converted into a lesson plan that can be used to inspire children to do that thinking or whatever your mathematical, geography, business studies, whatever. And then it ends by asking children, what would you do now next? How will you inspire the world? So it's a beautiful loop. I will encourage you, it's all free, it's open source. I will encourage you to take a look at that and great inspiration for getting children to look at the world. I mean, if there's a story from Colombia, it's a great geography lesson right there. Where is Colombia? Why are they worried about saving the Inga language? Why, massive opportunity for transdisciplinary learning. So I would encourage you to do that. Okay, Krishna, we have the last question because it's now 12.
Yeah.
So do we have a last question?
I'm done with my questions. Dr. Karunakar Garu is asking. Unmute him.
I have only one question left at the end. After Karunakar, I'll ask you and then end the session.
Okay.
Karunakar,
Can you just, Krishna, just share the website in the chat box?
Yes.
dfcworld.com and schoolriverside.com. Yeah, so there were lots of people asking for that. Yes. You have to, I think, unmute him.
raise your hand, Karunakar Garu. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good afternoon, ma'am. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you, Krishna Garu, for this wonderful session. Madam, my name is Karunakar. I happen to be a principal of a small private school in Bangalore. So
okay.
I'm very much interested in this alternative schooling. Somewhere I was, though I had a school which is affiliated to the CBSE, but I do feel that when we affiliate to certain boards, our freedom is slightly restricted because the syllabus is defined, the books are defined, each child has to study the same book, and the timing is defined, and during that particular time, children have to do this much work, and the next teacher comes and so somewhere I was not comfortable with this, and with one of my friends, we're talking about some alternative schooling, and I'm sure you are into alternative schooling, right? So how did this idea of alternative schooling come to your mind, number one? And what were the parents' apprehensions or kind of concerns or questions that you had in the beginning, and how did you face them? And
for that, Mr. Karunakar, you should read my book.
I didn't complete.
Read my book.
I liked, and I fully, I also think in the same lines when you said the phrase like, don't design for children and design with children, which is actually important. Even I somewhere read about John Holt, and which he says there, children are basically so talented that they can choose what they want to learn, and they can choose the speed in which they want to learn, and they have tremendous ability to correct themselves, their mistakes. So these are my sharing as well as questions.
Okay, so it's a fairly lengthy conversation. We can always have a separate conversation. Couple of things though. One thing that I don't believe what we are doing, or what maybe Krishna is doing, or maybe what you would do, is called alternative education. For me, I have a problem with that word. I feel it is the most natural way children learn. Everything else is alternative, if you ask me. Getting children to sit quiet for 15 years, that's the alternative to education. So I think what we are doing is the most natural way children should learn. And also, to answer your question, what happened with parents? Frankly, Mr. Karunakaran, I was not concerned by any of those issues at all. I was so clear that, and I was not changing the world. I was not worried about what parents. I just needed to start because I felt there was a better way, or a different way, or a more respectful way for children to learn. So I didn't care how many came. I was very lucky, I have to say, not to worry about financial viability. I broke even only in the 7th year. I started in my home, and I really didn't care. I got some 24 people, and I kid you not, I'm sure a lot of them thought, "Yes, pass me hai school, 2 saal rakhenge, then I leave." All those children graduated from here. Every parent asked me, "Exams kyun nahi de rahe ho?" I said, "I don't care. There are other schools for that. Please go." So I think you'll have to ask yourself how how clear you are with your vision. You have to be clear what you will not do, not what you will do. I was very clear I will not get into a rote memory or a board. So none of those. I didn't have a board till they were in grade 6. So I think in many ways, parents need to see visible empowerment in children, not what a report card will say. A report card is really the worst way you can talk about your child, right? So I think in many ways we questioned all of those. I had a liberty. I didn't come from education, so I was very lucky. I had complete freedom. So I probably was breaking rules. I didn't even know there were rules. I was questioning everything.
Yes.
And another thing, I will only guide you this, Mr. Karnakaran. Take it a year at a time. I was in no hurry. This was it for me. I was not going to do anything else. So for me, again, I had the luxury of building the school a year at a time. So I could build culture. For me, that is by default the greatest thing you give a child, right? So I think those are some small things that I could tell you. I can happily have a conversation separately. Please take my email. Happy to share with you the ICANN school idea if you think that that's going to be of use. Yes, Mr. Krishna, we've come to the end of the session.
Kiranji, definitely one day we'll come to Riverside and
have to.
Pick up
and then Krishna, then you have coffee with Kiran.
Kiran, we'll definitely come to Riverside, pick up some seeds from there and plant here and spread ICANN message here, definitely.
I will connect you to Nandini. That's my promise to you. Please get your children. You are inviting me to your place also. So let's get that very clear. You're only coming here. I'm coming to you. Yeah. And yes, let's hope we can continue this relationship. Everybody, thank you so much.
And special thanks to Chalapathi Rao garu who actually made this possible.
Yes.
Just unmute Chalapathi Rao garu.
Hi, Rao. How are you?
I'm good, Kiran Sethi. So I really like, this is a great move for me. Yeah. So since Krishna Garu is doing great job actually, so he asked me to invite you.
Only because of him I came out to you because he was so convinced that I have to do this. Krishna, so you have to thank Rao for this. He'd come here. We had met. How many years ago, Rao? Must have been 5 years? 5, 6?
Yeah, 5, 6 years actually.
5 or 6 years
so
ago.
You are hosting a children event that day.
Yes.
And my unfortunate thing was you left the next day to the other country. Yeah,
yes.
I stayed for 5 days in your school.
Okay,
but if you would have there, right, I would have started some school actually. But I missed you actually. So, but still, I'm very happy. I spent 5 days. So those roots are still in my mind wherever I am there, right? So that is the reason Krishna Garu is become my friend, and so whatever he's doing, I'm trying to incorporate with him. So I'm very happy, and the way, right, the energy you show, right, the TED Talk connected me, and I came to Ahmedabad. I feel always like I have to write a story. Actually, nobody believes that actually, when I say to my friends, right? So the Krishnaji, that is the power of Kiran Sethi actually. So she brought me, and
all the time.
Because of that TED Talk, right, it connected to you actually, right? So God helped that way.
Kiran,
I'm really appreciated your time, and the way you always smile, right? I want to tell one small experience, right? So when you allowed me to visit you, I prepared more than 30 questions to ask you. That day I met you, I shake your hand. The whole day that I observed, right, I lost all my questions. The way you show the energy, right, if you don't have any questions actually.
Okay.
You are the greatest example. Greatest example actually. I told even Krishnaji. So you will not have any questions once seeing your any talk or even meeting directly, right? Yeah, I'm really happy, Kiranji.
We are going to be there soon. Kiran, thanks a lot. Thanks everybody who attended this session. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, everybody. God bless. Stay in touch.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Krishna.